Okay, this is the final podcast for chapter 13, which is on the circulatory system. In this podcast, we are going to take a look at the vascular portion of this system. So these are all the major blood vessels that are found throughout your body. You have your arteries, which are going to carry blood away from the body, or from the heart, excuse me. And arterioles are small arteries. Capillaries are the smallest of all your blood vessels, and they technically connect your arteries and veins. Venules are small veins, and then your veins are going to bring the blood back to the heart. Okay. All blood vessels have a major 3 layers of structure to them that we're going to take a look at. But when you look at this picture, you can kind of see how they are oriented. So your artery over here is a very thick-walled structure. A lot of muscle that is within here, and it's got to be a thick wall so that you can withstand the pressure, because the heart is pumping directly into your arteries, and so there's a lot of pressure coming from the heart. The veins are actually a lot thinner because they're not getting in the pressure. The blood flows through your arteries, and it will branch off into smaller and smaller arterioles, and then go through the capillary network, and then back into the venules, and then to the veins. So by the time the blood is going through your veins, there's very, very, very little pressure, if any, left. And so there's other ways that your body has to work at getting the blood through. So we'll take a look at the intricate structure of each of the types of blood vessels in just a minute. Overall, your blood vessel anatomy has, every blood vessel has 3 layers called tunics. The tunic intima is the endothelium. This is the inside lining of every blood vessel. So it's just like the inside lining of the heart, endothelium tissues, kind of like skin. It will prevent clotting of your platelets. So remember, your platelets are the part of your blood that's going to clot if you break open a blood vessel. You don't want your platelets clotting at other times unless they need to. So your blood vessels, or this layer, this endothelium, has cells within there that can secrete different substances that will help with this, the clotting factor, clotting things, and also that will control the diameter of the blood vessel. So when the blood vessel does break open, you need to constrict it and make it smaller. Sometimes you need them to be bigger, like if you're working out or during an adrenaline rush, you need your blood vessels to dilate. So there are substances that get made from the endothelium that are going to allow that to happen. The inner layer is called the tunic media, and that is made up of smooth muscle that is controlled by your nervous system. So when your blood vessels constrict, that's when they narrow. Those muscles are going to contract. And then when your blood vessels dilate or widen, those blood vessels are going to be relaxing or sometimes even pushing open. So that muscle is controlling that in and out motion that your blood vessels have the chance to do if they need to. And then your tunic externa is a connective tissue that's on the outside, and basically it reinforces all of your blood vessels. It allows them a place to anchor onto different parts of your body so that the blood vessels are anchored within all the different connective tissues within your body as well. So here's another picture showing you those layers. So again, the lumen is the opening on the inside, so both have a lumen. The lumen in the vein is wider than the lumen in the artery. The wall in here, the media, is much thicker in the artery because the force through which the blood's coming through is a lot thicker, or a lot stronger. In the vein, it's not. They both have that same layer of connective tissue along the outside. There are other layers of connective tissue on the inside, so it's kind of a layering system, but there's your endothelium. And one thing that the veins have the arteries don't are valves to prevent backflow. And so we'll take a look at that specifically in just a minute. I'm going to start with our arteries. Now, arteries carry blood away, and the way I always remember that is arteries away. They both start with A. So they're going to carry blood away from the heart. The thicker walled arteries are found nearer to the heart because they have to be able to withstand a large amount of pressure. If a artery cannot withstand the pressure on it, it will break open, and that's an aneurysm, and that can obviously lead to major problems. The more muscular arteries are actually further away from the heart because they will contract themselves and push blood into the capillaries. So your heart is pushing the blood into the arteries that are closest to it. And then as the blood flows further and further away, like towards your fingers and toes and, further away from the heart, the arteries themselves are going to push the blood through. So that's what that inner layer of smooth muscle is for. So this allows for a fairly continuous flow of blood throughout the body because your heart's doing most of the work, but your arteries in other places are also doing the work and pushing the blood through. Your veins, their job is to take blood back toward the heart. So veins are going to carry the blood towards the heart. The pressure going through the veins is too low for it to just go on its own. So your blood has to be pushed through the veins. It's not being pumped by your heart. So there's a respiratory pump that's part of this. These are basically pressure changes that happen when you're breathing are going to make blood get pulled in towards your veins. So when you take a breath in, you're changing the air pressure in your thoracic cavity, and that actually will pull blood towards where it needs to go. And you also have muscular pumps. Your veins are actually found throughout your skeletal muscles, and your skeletal muscles are constantly doing a little bit of contracting, and that's kind of milking the blood back up towards the heart, so it pushes it up. And the valves that are in there are going to prevent backflow of the blood. So once it gets past the valve, it can't go back down. And, then the blood would start to pool at the lower extremities because gravity is going to push it there. So the valves keep gravity from taking over and keep the blood from going back down on your veins. Okay. So the one-way venous valves work like this. If you're going up to the heart and there are your skeletal muscles on either side. So if the skeletal muscles are relaxed, the valves are closed. When the skeletal muscles contract, this is that milking I was talking about. So it actually squeezes in and pushes in on the vein, and that pops open the valve and the blood gets pushed out. And then once the blood is up, the muscle will relax again and the valve will close again and the blood can't go backwards. Okay, your capillaries are the smallest of your blood vessels, and they probably play the most important role. They have the ability to get all of the nutrients and waste and everything to and from your cells directly in your body. So they have varying levels of permeability depending on where they are. Some of your cells or your capillaries need to be able to be very good at getting oxygen in and out of the blood, and those are the ones that are around your lungs, but also within different parts of your tissue. Also, you need to be able to get nutrients in and out to your cells. And so wherever the capillaries are, they're going to be able to get nutrients and oxygen directly to your cells. Also, though, in the process of using your oxygen and nutrients, you are making carbon dioxide and other waste products, mostly nitrogenous wastes, that need to get out of your cells, and they go into your blood, and then you have systems that will get rid of those waste products. So the capillaries are really doing the delivering, one-on-one delivering directly to your cells. And they're connected to the arteries and veins by the smaller arteries and veins, the arterioles to the arteries and the venules to the veins. So the major differences between your types of blood vessels. So the walls of the arteries are the thickest, right? And remember that's because they need to be able to withstand a great amount of pressure. They have a thicker muscular wall as well because they actually can do some of their own contracting. That's why you can feel your pulse. The lumens, which are the openings inside, the tubes inside of veins, are larger. Again, you don't have as much muscle on those walls. You're not getting the pumping. So the skeletal muscle has to milk the blood in the veins back towards the heart. And then the walls of the capillaries, interesting enough, are oftentimes only one cell thick. They are extremely, extremely thin. And they are everywhere within your body. If you ever get a bruise, it's because you've broken open some of these little tiny capillaries and a little bit of blood is leaked out. The number of capillaries that you have in your body is the reason why you could take all of your blood vessels and stretch them out end to end, and you could go around the earth 2.5 times. That's the estimate of the number or the length of all of the blood vessels in your body, including all of these one cell thick capillaries. Remember, capillaries cannot even really be seen because they're only one cell thick. You'd have to have a microscope to see them. All right, so the way that the capillaries are going to actually get nutrients into and out of the blood is by diffusion. So remember, when we talk about diffusion, we are going to move particles from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. And that is because that's what the molecules want to do. They want to get to where there is more room to move around. So they will do this naturally. It doesn't take anything from your body. It doesn't even take energy for the most part for this to happen. So here's an example. You have a blood capillary, right? And there's all your blood, and here are some cells. And the diffusion of molecules. Molecules like oxygen, which are carried on the red blood cells, are going to diffuse into the cells because there's more in the red blood cells than in the cell. And then something like carbon dioxide will diffuse out of these cells because there's more inside of these cells than in the blood. So the molecules want to move in that direction. The way that the blood vessel or your capillaries are made is they are only one cell thick, so you can actually get diffusion directly through the membrane, just like in any other cell. This also can happen with water and osmotic pressure as well. So depending on where the capillaries are, what their job is, various things are going to be moved in and out of the capillaries and into and out of your cells, wherever they need to be. Okay, so blood flow through the tissues. The reason that you need to be able to get blood in and out of your tissues. Delivery of oxygen and nutrients. Okay, we have to get oxygen and nutrients into your cells. It's the only way they're going to live. But just as important is the removal of the waste. If waste is spilled up, the cells will die. Gas exchange within the lungs. We do the respiratory system. The capillaries that are found within your lungs are extensive, and that is to get the maximum amount of oxygen into your blood and carbon dioxide out, and that's the gas exchange. It's oxygen and CO2. That's what we're going to be exchanging in the respiratory system. You also are going to find a large number of capillaries in the digestive tract, mainly in the small intestine. And that is because when you break everything down, all your food, it's got to get absorbed into your blood. And there's little tiny capillaries all around in your small intestine that are going to allow the nutrients to go into the blood. Full of capillary. Your kidneys are full of capillaries so that you can make urine in filtering the blood. So the next 3 chapters we're going to look at are going to concentrate on the respiratory, digestive, and urinary systems. And we'll take a look even more at how capillaries are involved in the processes that they do.